talking to you from Louisiana.
Yeah, man, down in Houma.
How is it going down there? I know it's been really rough lately as far as
Yeah,
man,
uh,
gosh.
it's crazy, man. It's a war zone. It's man, it's crazy. Even this long after, I'm going around selling roofs right now to people, trying to help people get roofs on their homes. And every single one of them, there's damage on the inside. There's so many displaced people down here.
Man.
And, ride down towards it's called Grand Isle down here. It's towards the Gulf. And just, the farther you go down, the worse it gets, man. It's crazy. There's people living in tents. My fiance and I actually, through a church, we had just adopted a family. You can adopt these families who are in need. Have just been completely, everything's been destroyed and they need things. You can bring stuff down to them and stuff like that. So we're just doing stuff like that, man, because we were pretty blessed. I lost a few shingles, but that was about it,
Yeah, it's hit or miss with those kind of things. We're none of us are safe from the hurricanes, tornadoes, lightning, all that stuff. It's just Mother Nature just getting nasty. And more nasty now than it ever has been.
Oh yeah, man. Stuff's getting worse and worse and worse. So we better enjoy it while we can, huh?
Yeah, I'm way up here in Atlanta, and we've had some tropical storms over here the last year. I'm like,
Yeah,
it's so bad here. I can't even imagine what it's like on the coast in these places. Louisiana, Florida, Alabama. It's
yeah.
gotta be awful.
We rode it out, man. It was a Category 5 when it hit. And we rode it out at my house. I'll never do that again.
I don't know how you can do it.
I don't know how we did it either.
Traumatized.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was like a freight train running through my driveway. Yeah, it was wild.
And I just can't stand those images. I saw that whole Spike Lee documentary about what happened years ago, and people just punching through the roofs just to survive.
Yeah, that's crazy. No, we didn't have nothing like that. Luckily, the flooding wasn't that bad.
Yeah, so those levees worked. They were talking about that, how it was crap for all these years. They finally got it right after Katrina.
Right. Yeah, it's crazy, man. But we're moving on. We're strong people down here.
Louisiana strong. It's good stuff. I've been in New Orleans a few times and done the drive too. It's about 9 hours from Atlanta.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Good stuff. Good culture. Good music. Always worth saving. It really
it's a different world down here, than the rest of the country. It is. I used to live in Ackworth for a little while.
Oh yeah.
Actually. Yeah, I enjoyed it, man. I was 18, searching for rock and roll stardom, So I moved out to Atlanta.
You're a little ahead of your time.
A little bit, yes, a little bit. It was actually like Collective Soul and all that. Those bands were coming out, I guess, around that time.
Right. I had Dean Rowland on the show about a few months ago.
Oh, cool, man.
Good guy. Yeah, great band.
Good.
Yeah.
So what are you doing, brother? You interviewing people for
my thing is, we have a show here where we just interview people who are up and coming and people a little off the radar and maybe some on the radar. I like talking with artists, poets, leaders of all stripes, and people who are innovators, and just find out what the nuts and bolts are into the making of their magic. I'm always fascinated by that.
Yeah, I dig that. That's cool, man. That's cool. I mean, golly, you guys are a dying breed. I'll tell you nowadays, live music is not what it used to be, for sure. Even back in the early 90s. I mean, before COVID, it seemed like getting people out to a show was like pulling teeth, man. Like, it's not the same unless you're like a big artist or whatever. Like before, people didn't even have to know who you were. They would just come out to see you.
Yeah, it was definitely easier back in the day. Bands like an REM can come out here, and college radio picked up on that, and those kind of things. exploded.
Right. It doesn't seem to happen anymore for rock and roll, at least, you know.
Yeah, that whole business has completely got so corporatized here in America.
Yeah.
And so niche. It's really sad, actually, just when you think about
Right.
that.
Yeah.
What's popular now? I mean, if you listen to top 40 radio now, it's like an artist has like 10 producers for one song.
Right. Exactly. I know you got this whole big team of people writing one little 3-minute stupid song, you know, talking about shit that doesn't matter, but it sells, you know.
Very,
It's
very sad. So how did you get started in all of this? When did you pick up the music bug?
man, I was born into it. My dad was a musician, and I had two brothers that were musicians. My great grandmother was a musician. So I
Cool.
was kind of I didn't have a choice, you know. So it's been my whole life. I think I was first on a stage singing a song when I was like 5 years old, you know. So it's just been my whole life, you know. So I can't really, as far as like, you know, a certain age when I started playing or whatever, I don't really have one, man. It's just kind of been always for me, you know, in some capacity.
Were you self-taught? Have any formal
Yeah,
lessons?
I did. I had like I was in a school band for drums and stuff like that. But man, I learned as far as singing and stuff, I learned how to sing by watching my dad and listening to my dad. And you know, that's where I got more knowledge than anywhere as far as knowing what I'm doing and stuff like that, you know, how to listen, you
Yeah,
know,
you
because
just gotta pick that up, right? It's just like it's just by ear. You just gotta, that's you could do singing lessons and everything and know how to do
right.
breath and everything.
Yeah, you can get the whole science of it down, but you gotta, you know, it's just like anything else. The more you do it, the better you get at it, I guess, you know.
Totally.
And
So
we do it a lot. So, you know.
what was like the first things that you started singing? What were your earliest things that you did in front of the family or school?
Oh man, golly. Well, let's go back to 5 years old, I guess. You remember
Yeah.
the old tune, Tiny Bubbles? I remember that was one song. And then I played guitar and sang The Gambler by Kenny Rogers in like a sixth grade talent show or whatever. And I got a standing ovation. And I think that performance is what like kind of made me go, this is what I want to do. I want to do this for the rest of my life. And then, you know, I was chasing the dreams from that point on, you know. I still remember that stuff like it was yesterday. There ain't too much I can remember anymore, but I remember that stuff. It's it's
That's
pretty
cool.
embedded in my brain, you know.
That is really, really cool. I mean, just taking that and it inspires you and people just like, hey, go for it. You're young.
Right. Yeah, you know. Well, I had all the support in the world, you know, from a musical family. So, you know.
That's awesome. Yeah, you just do it by ear and just so you picked up the guitar and you picked up the drums at the same time, or which one came first?
Yeah, I picked up guitar first. Actually, my brother Joey showed me how to play a few chords on the guitar. And that was my first real you know, like playing an instrument. And then I moved on to drums when I was 10. I joined the school band in fourth grade playing drums. So I learned like a lot of rudiments and stuff like, you know, the fundamentals, how to hold the sticks, just stuff, you know, simple stuff. And my mom was a English teacher, and she had these old file cabinets, these old cardboard file cabinets. And she had some wooden spoons, and I set those cabinets up all around me. And I sat one down where I could kick it. And I was just banging on these old cardboard filing cabinets, you know. So then my brother, the same one that taught me how to play guitar, he saw me banging on this stuff. And a couple of weeks later, he He lived in Mississippi at the time, and we lived down here. Well, he came down. I didn't even know he was coming. He saved up $1,000 and came down here and bought me a drum kit. And the rest is history, you know.
Remember the brand of that drum kit?
Ludwig.
Wow, classic. I
Yeah.
a little into the jargon. I had a drummer on this show, Liberty DeVito, who's worked with a lot of big people, and he has his own line of drums called Liberty. And one of the best drummers I think I've seen live in concert. Just amazing.
Some great drums too, man. Those Liberty drums are awesome. Really nice.
It's really cool.
High-end stuff.
Yeah. So you really got into it through school. Did you? So through high school, just kept performing? Did you go out play on weekends, nights?
Yeah, man. Absolutely. I was in a metal band called Black Friday when I was like 15, and that was my first. That's when I started gigging a lot. You know, we didn't make any money, obviously, but then around my town, we started doing jam sessions. We'd have jam nights all the time in different places. And we were kind of the house band for that. So we just did that for years and years, man. And I, got into bands. We started doing weddings and stuff. And then I went out to Bourbon Street. And I think it was 2003 or something like that. And I started working on Bourbon Street. And then that led into bigger bands. We really we formed a band, got off of Bourbon Street, and really got heavy into the wedding scene in New Orleans, which will keep you busy as long as you want to, between that and conventions. So, man, I just kind of been in that whole scene ever since, but still, 3 years ago, I put out a record on Tab Benoit's label. I was like, the whole time I was like, man, I gotta write some music, I always felt like that pull, that urge to make my own music and create my own thing and find out who I am, because, playing cover songs, you can kind of be yourself to a certain extent with a cover tune. But if you really want to do it right and be a working cover band, you got to get as close to the record as you can, because that's what people recognize and that's what they want to hear. Right.
Oh, totally.
So having to do that, having those specifications, if you will, to be in a good cover band, to make a cover band what it should be, it doesn't allow me to be myself musically. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, you're somebody else when you're in that cover band. I have interviewed people who just, that's all they do. I mean, it makes the money and everything, but are you really going to carve out your own identity? That's
never, not fully.
No, never. You never do.
You could carve out your identity as far as being a musician, a working musician, and paying your bills and being able to say, man, I love, golly, I'm so blessed because I can play music 2 days a week, make more money than these cats, grinding it out all week. All that stuff's great, but it still leaves that want, it leaves a lot to be longed for, man. Like, personally, I guess, as a musician, as an artist,
So you started writing, so you were writing in high school?
Yeah, man, we kind of, again, I was in some metal bands, and those were always original bands. It was all original bands that we did. And I played drums mostly in those bands. I wrote some of the lyrics and stuff, but as I got older, I kind of grew away from the whole heavy metal thing a little bit. And started getting into my dad was a R&B soul singer, so I always had a special place in my heart for that stuff. It always gave me a certain feeling to do that kind of music, kind of with a country blues kind of edge on it,
It is good.
So
good stuff.
Yeah, man. So that's what I create now when I can sit down to write and pulling stuff out. And I have a 20-year-old son, and he does the same thing, man. So it's cool to see that whole thing kind of follow the vein,
passing it along. Yeah, that's all
It
they
just
know.
keeps passing along, man. Yeah. And we don't even try. It just happens.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they do. The kids watch you and they're fascinated. You're doing something very cool. You're not,
Yeah.
not a knock on an accountant or anything like that, or a lawyer or doctor.
Right.
Doing cool stuff.
Yeah, they love coming. They came to my gig last night, man. Stayed all night. Yeah.
So songwriting started happening. Did you go off to school after high school, or just kept gigging and songwriting?
Man, I felt that I didn't need college to do what I was gonna do. So
No, you really
I
don't.
didn't I didn't go to college,
Why waste the
But
time? Boy?
I do encourage my children to go to college. I kind of wish I would have went to college just to have some kind of degree or something, to fall back on. You always should have something to fall back on.
That's
Instead,
true.
I got into construction and stuff like that. So when COVID hit, thank God I knew how to do something else. But boy, it sucked. Tell you what.
You can't outsource construction, though. A lot of these things you could digitize, you could outsource and do all that with these careers. But there's much to be said about the working people out there. The plumbers, the people who are out there, putting down the cement and the asphalt and
man. What would we do without them?
Can't get a robot to do that stuff.
No, you can't, man.
So that pays
That's
the
right.
bill. Yeah.
Yeah. So now I've been blessed with the opportunity to play with probably one of the biggest bands that ever come out of Louisiana. Louisiana's LeRoux.
Yeah, that's pretty big. Now that outfit's been around for a while. It's a couple of decades.
Since 77.
Wow.
Yeah. I was 3 years old when their first record came out.
Yeah, some big songs out of there. I hate New Orleans ladies.
New Orleans ladies, yeah.
Take a ride
on them. Yep. Take a ride. They had it was cool, man, because they started off like a New Orleans band. That first record was very New Orleans levee rock, they call it.
Levee.
Or they called it back then, and then I think as they got signed, like they signed with Capitol Records, and then those record labels started trying to make them sound like Foreigner or whoever was hot at the time, like Foreigner and Journey and those bands, So then they kind of went in that direction for a while, and some really cool stuff, some good tunes, man. And then they came back to the whole Southern thing. And this last record that I did with them is very Southernish. I don't know if you had a chance to check it out, but you should check it out. If you like that kind of stuff, man, you dig it. It's very polished, and good. It's just good stuff.
It's still good music, and it's something that I think we need these days. And something
it's gonna come back. It's got to come back sooner or later, where people are gonna, be true lovers of the art. And like really be into it and not just, pass it by. Rap, they say rap killed rock, but I don't know.
It could all exist together. That's its own little art form there. Sometimes it's cross paths. You remember Aerosmith did that like 37 years ago.
Right. Yeah, but heck, man, I think that's one of the things that kept rock and roll going, to do that stuff. So
nothing wrong with that. Nothing at all.
Yeah.
So when did you start doing solo recording, getting into the studio and just doing your own thing as a solo artist?
Yeah. Like I said, that was probably, 2017. So I guess, 3 or 4 years ago now.
Cool.
So I had a lot of studio time logged before then, but as far as me personally and doing my songs, 2017 when I put that record out on Whiskey Bayou, that was my first one.
Some really nice singles there. Step Out is some really good stuff you've done on your own. Angel Fly, great video I came across.
Thanks, man. Yeah, that tune is very special to me, and I wrote it, man, in about 5 minutes because it was already written. It was just in my brain. I had to put it on paper, or it lived in my life's experiences, if you will. So it was very easy to write. I wrote that song, man. Well, when I was 10 years old, there's two brothers I was telling you about. They passed away in car wrecks 9 months apart.
Both car
And
wrecks
then
9 months apart.
Yeah, 9 months apart. And then when I was 18, I watched my dad take his last breath. And February of 2010, February 2010, my mom passed away. And then June of 2010, my wife passed away.
Oh my God,
so
I'm sorry to hear all that.
Well, it just makes you stronger. As much as it sucks, you just can't dwell on it. You don't ever get over that stuff. You just kind of learn how to live with it and move on. You got to be stronger than to let it. But anyway, that's what that song is. That was a way for me to get a lot of things off of my chest, and just kind of, it's a jewel to me, man. That song is a diamond to me. So, I wish Whiskey Bayou didn't own it, but they
but that's how it goes,
Yeah.
But they did a beautiful video. You got some talented people on that. Check it out on
YouTube.
Man.
Yeah, we did that out in the country. That was fun, man. That was good stuff. Yeah, that was actually Reuben Williams. That was his son that did all that stuff. Do you know who Reuben is?
I've heard that. Sounds familiar.
Yeah, probably so, man. He's a manager. He manages Tab Benoit. He manages Almond Betts band, the two sons now. Yeah, and Samantha Fish, and he's into that whole.
Almond Betts is that's huge here. Yeah,
man. So
Georgia, that's really cool. So, how do you,
cool.
What's your writing process like? It's just obviously with Angel Fly, that's the real life experience there, but like Step Out, where do you something that's just so catchy? Step Out.
Yeah. Well, actually, man, the keyboard player that I work with, his name is Tillis Burdan.
Yeah.
And Step Out was born like this. I came back from a trip in Disney World with my kids. And while I was in Disney World, man, I was just looking around, just being aware of my surroundings, and there's people from all over the world there at the same time, right? But they're all there with their kids, and they're all there fussing at their kids or playing with their kids or buying it. Like everybody's doing the same thing, right? So I'm sorry. That's how One World came about. Yeah. I'm confused.
Another single, One World, One Life, One People.
Yeah, that's how that song came about. So Step Out, Tillis, we were just talking about, kind of the same thing I said, like you can't let things hold you down, weigh you down, especially if it's not worth it. That's where the lyrics step out and dance in the rain. So when shit's not going so well, don't dwell on it, do something about it, or it's all in how you perceive things, So, and we just took that concept and we just came up with that tune, man. Tillis is quite a writer. He wrote a book for that song, and then I just kind of took all those lyrics and chopped away, trimmed all the fat, and we got that tune, so. And that was kind of our process for the whole record. There was a couple of tunes on that record that just came, like Let's Ride, that song, another one written in 5 minutes,
Yeah. I love the style. It's just the theme with that whole album and just those tunes are just, it's very, very, it gives you the earworm. It's that catchy.
Yeah, cool, man. Yeah. I'm glad to hear you say that because, I go back and I listen to it and I find all kind of stuff I would have done differently or would change, but I think that's the case for most artists. But it's nice to hear somebody say that with that knows how to listen to music or appreciates music. So I always like to hear people say that because it just reminds me that, hey man, that record is pretty good, as much as I might not like some things about it, it's not as bad as I think it is, but
But yeah, the pandemic has thrown a wrench. Every artist I've spoken to on this show, it's just, they've all had to find their own ways of coping and dealing. And sure, with the pandemic, and then you got the natural disasters on top of that. It's just and it's good you're strong and you're able to work through that, and having that inspiration to do it and keep performing, live. And hopefully that's coming back.
It is coming back. I've done a few gigs, before the second wave of COVID, things were getting back to normal. We were working pretty good again. And the second wave hit. It looked like it was gonna kind of knock us off our feet again. And then the storm came and, finished that process.
Yeah.
But it ain't gonna last long, man. We're getting back at it. I mean, I've been doing at least one gig a week. And then last night, we do this little every other Thursday thing here in Houma. And we got back to that last night, Everybody's dealing with it pretty good, A lot of people had to evacuate, like the guy Tillis I was telling you about. He evacuated to Florida. Well, we got friends out there, so he ended up joining their band for a month, just did gigs around there. So, man, we just do what we can. And I also have another band of musicians, some guys from New Orleans, and we've been writing a little bit heavier style music. So we always had that going on.
Sure.
Like we never really, man, as long as we're musicians and that's what we do, so as long as we're doing that, I mean, everything's cool as long as we can do it in some capacity. And you got to take the time, like the downtime in COVID again, instead of going, man, this shit sucks, we can't play, we can't do this, or we can't do that, man. You gotta, there ain't nothing you can't do. You could sit down with a guitar, and if you got a couple of months of free time, you should have a record going on or something, at least a few tunes towards one. Yeah. So I think everybody at least everybody in my circle that I know, I think everybody kind of kept that mindset and just keep moving forward in some capacity. Right.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So
you work with that's amazing. Yeah, you just got to keep the creative juices going.
Yeah, no, at any cost, really. I mean, as long as you're not hurting anybody, obviously. But I mean, that's what it's about, man. Just keep the engine running, because this shit ain't gonna last forever. It's gonna get back to normal again.
With the pandemic, I think we got out of it 100 years ago. We have better technology now.
Yeah, man.
It's a nasty virus. It's really tough in places like where we're at, Georgia, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama. It's really tough right now because we got some vaccine skeptics and all that. So
yeah, man. Golly. Well, I am 100% vaccinated, and I'm proud to say it. Look, that's the biggest problem we're having right now. Is people don't trust the powers that be. Now, are there some good reasons not to trust them? Probably so. You
get all these mixed messages. It's tough. It's trust.
How's anybody supposed to make an educated decision about anything if everything's just all over the place? Yeah. Right. So you have to just push that shit aside and think about the world you're living in and what do you want for you? What choice are you going to make for you and your family? So I chose to be vaccinated because I can't see, now, although there were some problems, with the vaccine at first and all that kind of stuff, but I can't see them pushing a vaccine on us that they know is going to hurt us. To me, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
I don't think anybody's doing that on purpose to hurt us. And then, then you got the conspiracy theorists thinking that, like, oh, are they trying to thin the herd?
They're trying to kill us, population control, whatever. I mean, come on, man. I don't
And
buy it.
life is a little too short, but I think you have to use some logic here. It's like the numbers started tumbling down once the vax was taking hold. So I mean, it was just the
There you
numbers.
go. Yeah, man. Come
Easy.
on. It's not gonna hurt you. I mean, what do you got to lose?
Yeah, exactly. And I'm figuring, people like yourselves or myself, it's like, it's your ticket to get into places. And sure enough, it happened.
Yeah.
All these venues saying, hey, you got to show your vax card. I knew that
Right.
was gonna happen.
Right. Right, man. We have a thing called LA Wallet, and it's just a little app. It's got your driver's license in it and your vaccine. Everything is right there on your phone. You just pull up the app and say, here you go. It's simple. I mean, I don't see what the big deal is. Some people are like, oh, you can't force me to, I can't go in your place because I'm not vaccinated. Well, I mean, it's the same thing as a, 18-year-old not being able to go into a bar, or, hey, you got to show your ID to get in. Well, we'd like for you to be vaccinated too. So we're
not having a massive super spreader event and ruining it.
Right. Yeah. Let's not make the situation worse, I don't know.
Well, yeah.
There's a song coming about it. I got a few tunes about it. I was trying not to, I've tried to stay away from writing the whole COVID anthem, trying to write a COVID anthem, because everybody's doing it. So it's just saturated with COVID anthems out there. But I probably got one coming in some kind of way or another, Maybe just trying to find a way to not be so blunt with it, maybe,
Yeah, I mean, you got an audience out there, and you don't want to alienate anybody by getting too political. So
right. Man, as a musician, you got to stay away from that crap nowadays. You can't get into that, man. Because especially if you're trying to sell records, which is a thing of the past. But if you're trying to, be a musician and touch people and do what we do, you can't be talking about political shit right now, man. You'll lose half your audience in the first half of the song.
That's so
if you're talking about that. Nobody wants to hear that anyway. Like I saw a guy at our gig last night, and I had to laugh. His t-shirt said, "I could shit a better president." Is what he said. So I was like, on one hand, I was like, really, man, but then on the other hand, I was like, you know what? Good for you. You're confident enough to wear that t-shirt.
That's true too.
Go for it, brother. So
I wouldn't go up on stage with that thing, but
right. Exactly.
Why would you?
Right. Yeah, that's asking for it. So
I always say, like, somebody like Mellencamp or Springsteen could get away with. They've been around for 100 years, so they get away with that kind of stuff.
Right.
But, if you're up and coming, it's a bad way to go.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you're alienating yourself right off the bat. Even if one of those guys did it, man, it'd be on the National Enquirer the next day.
Oh yeah, totally. It just ain't worth it at all. That's cool. So how many albums do you have out now?
I have 2. Well, it's just mine, the one solo record. Yeah, and I have one in the works actually.
Cool.
And the latest Louisiana's LeRoux record. There was 2 records I'm singing on, and so hopefully, man, we'll have a new one out in the next year or so. Very cool. I have a record label, the same one that the LeRoux record is on, Gulf South Records.
So you're taking the vocals much more on with the band.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I mean, I play drums. I still play drums, but as far as making records and stuff, I'm doing all the singing and the records. I'm doing it.
And they had Terry Brock was the lead vocal for a while, and Terry's
down
in Florida.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. I never got to meet Terry, but he was a good singer, man. I don't know what happened, I guess life, happened to him, but yeah, so I am the full-time singer for, I guess it's been about 2 years now.
Awesome.
maybe a little more, 3 years.
It's really cool. And still working with Tillis and Seth?
Yes, the Cantina Flies. That's the band we did last night. Yeah. Yeah, we do.
Yeah, that sounds real good.
It's fun, man. It's a cover band, you know. And now we throw some originals in there too every now and then, like some tunes off the record, and we'll play some of the new tunes that haven't been recorded yet. You know, we'll throw those in there. But that's a lot of fun, man, because it that's a whole nother thing from the wedding and corporate thing that I do, because we can do whatever we want in that band. You know,
yeah.
Other stuff, you know, you got some bridezillas that want some crazy tunes at their wedding. You got to learn them and play them, right? Right. So this gig, right, none of that shit goes. Don't even come at me with that, dude. You better write your request down on a $20 bill. I might get to it, but you know, but we just play whatever we want. We do a lot of Eagles and you know, classic rock stuff. You know, just fun stuff, man.
Love the Eagles. I saw them once. It was like, you know, one of the tightest, most perfect bands you could ever possibly.
Golly, man. I know they're about to do another tour. It's crazy.
They keep it going. I didn't think they would after Glenn, but wow.
I know.
I'm impressed.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah, it's great, man. I'll do a Eagles tribute band too, called the New Kids in Town.
Cool. I love that stuff.
Yeah, one of my favorite gigs, man, for sure. All Eagles, you know, hour and a half of Eagles tunes. People love it.
You can't go wrong with that. It's just, it's in the fabric of America, no matter where you're at.
Yeah, it is, man. It is. Absolutely.
That's why they're one of the most successful bands in the last 50 years, because they just, here they came out of California, but wow, look how big they are in Louisiana. You wouldn't even think
huge. Right. Huge, man. Well, they were considered, they were almost, they were one of the first crossover bands to me, as far as like you know, the rock country thing, because they were almost kind of a country-ish band, you know. A lot of influences were country artists and stuff. So, and they definitely had a Southern thing about them, you know. And I think that's why they were so big down here and in this area.
And they've taken it worldwide too for years too. It's just
right.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Music is just that language where you could take it anywhere, and people just love that. So, awesome. So good deal. So you're back out on the road recording again. It's all good.
Yeah, man. Yeah. We never really
appreciate having you on today. This is fantastic, and just look for more from you.
Awesome, man. Cool deal.
Take it easy, and we'll hear from you soon, I'm sure.
Yeah, brother. Good talking to you, man. Nice to meet you.
Nice meeting you. Have a good one.
You too, bro.
Take care. Bye-bye.